A few years ago, a married couple decided they needed a break and chose to go out for the night. They called their most trusted babysitter. The two kids were sound asleep in bed when the babysitter arrived, so the babysitter just got to sit around and make sure everything was okay with the children. Later that night, the babysitter became bored and went downstairs to watch TV. But she couldn't because there was no cable downstairs. The couple didn't want their children to watch too much garbage. So she called them and asked them if she could watch cable in their room upstairs. Of course, the couple agreed. But the babysitter had one last request. She asked if she could cover up the angel statue outside the bedroom window with a blanket or cloth because it made her nervous. The phone line was silent for a moment, and the father, who was talking to the babysitter at the time, said, "Take the children and get out of the house. We'll call the police. We don't own an angel statue." The police found both of the children and the babysitter slumped in pools of their own blood within 3 minutes of the call. No statue was found.
Hi, my name is Estefania, but I prefer to be called Tefa. I'm from Honduras, a small Central American country known for its urban legends or stories, whatever you want to call them. However, my experience is completely different from what is told throughout the country. This happened 2 weeks ago. It was a Thursday night. I took out the trash because the garbage truck came on Friday morning. It was late, around 2 a.m., and I got out through the back door. To be clear, it is a glass door, but it is always locked. I got out with the garbage bags when suddenly I saw a man, a very tall man. He was wearing black clothes and a black hat with a red ribbon around the hat. He was facing me, and I thought it was weird. So I told him, "I'm sorry, sir. Are you okay? Are you lost?" I did not receive an answer from him. I asked him again, "Sir, are you lost?" "Sorry, but you are in private property. You shouldn't be here." Not an answer. I started to get annoyed, so I screamed at him, "Sir, if you don't leave, I'm going to have to call the police." He moved his head a little bit, but he didn't say anything. I screamed, "That's it! I'm calling the police!" I went inside to get my phone, and when I got back outside again, he was gone. I didn't allow it to bother me. The next morning, I decided to ask the guard about the man, whether he had seen him before, or whether we could check the cameras near my house, which is clearly part of my yard where everything happened. He played the part where I saw the man, and when I saw the video, my heart dropped, because there was no man in the footage. I was talking by myself. The guard looked at me, confused. I thanked him and returned home. I tried not to think about it, but it was the only thing that came to mind. Did I have a vision? Was it a ghost? Who was that man? When I told the story to my family members and friends, they all said the same thing. That night, I had an encounter with the devil.
I'm Arjun, and this is my story. This happened a few months ago. I'm a guy just out of college and was searching for a job. During that time, I was living with my parents in one of the big cities in South India. My parents had to go out to meet a friend of theirs, leaving me alone in the house, and I was sort of spooked because the night before I had watched one of the scariest horror movies. My house has 2 floors. My room and the bathroom is upstairs. They left early and I got ready to get into the shower. I had the weird habit of playing loud music when I take a bath, but this time my phone was low on battery, so I charged it and switched on YouTube to play music on my TV. Before I went into the bathroom, I flipped on the light switch, which was outside the room. A few minutes passed after I got in the shower. I was bathing and enjoying the music when suddenly the bathroom light turns off. I ignored it, thinking it might be because of a power outage. But then my mind started to wonder, if this is a power outage, why the heck is the TV still playing music? I could feel knots in my stomach as I thought of the possible reasons why the light bulb went off. There was no way the problem was with the bulb because it was recently replaced. But then that meant someone had switched it off from outside. I got out of the shower, wrapped my towel around my waist, and had my hand on the doorknob, when suddenly I heard the sound of the switch being flipped and the light in the bathroom came back on. By this point, I was trembling in fear. I peeked out the door and shouted, "Hello? Mom? Dad? Are you guys back?" But there was no answer. Then I heard the sound of some plates being thrown down on the floor below from the kitchen. I reminded myself that I'm an adult now, and I gathered my courage and decided to go check what was happening. I let the music on the TV continue playing loudly for additional courage. Then I reached the top of the stairs. I slowly peeked from the top of the stairs to the floor below. There I saw some plates and utensils on the floor, but I couldn't see anyone. The rational part of my mind started coming up with explanations, like that it could have all been a coincidence. Once I had been watching for a minute or so and couldn't see anyone, I walked down the remaining stairs, checked all through the floor, including the closets, and even made sure the back door to the house was locked. I was about to relax, thinking I was just getting paranoid, when suddenly the music playing upstairs stopped, and heavy footsteps started coming from the stairs like someone was walking down them. I couldn't just stand there and wait to see who it was, so I ran. I ran outside the house wearing just my towel and waited near the gate of my house without even my phone. Almost an hour later, my parents returned and I told them what happened, but obviously they thought I was just pranking them. When we went back into the house, I was alert, expecting an attack from anywhere, but nothing happened. Then my mom scolded me for being irresponsible and leaving the back door to the house open. I almost fainted when she said that because I'm dead certain that it was locked when I was looking around earlier. To this day, I still wonder what would have happened if I had waited to see the person coming down the stairs. I never want to know the answer because I'm sure something bad would have happened to me by whoever or whatever it was that turned off the bathroom light. When I was in college, I had a very strange friend. These days, he's more of an enemy than a friend, but anyway, his name is Kevin. He was a fanatic who was obsessed with scorpions, and he only wore clothes with scorpions on them from head to toe. He said he kept all kinds of scorpions in his home and often brought live scorpions to school to surprise his friends. One day, I decided to go to his house with some friends to hang out, but that was the beginning of a disaster. When we arrived at his house, we were really surprised. His house was quite large, he lived alone, and there were numerous terrariums filled with scorpions. We looked at the scorpions of various sizes and colors for a while. Then Kevin asked us what we wanted to eat, and I suddenly got playful and said, "I want to eat fried scorpions." Then the friends all burst into laughter, and Kevin also smiled brightly. We decided to order pizza, and after eating and playing video games, we were about to go home. As our friends were heading out, Kevin grabbed my shoulder and asked me to stay a little longer. I said okay, and my friends left first. But shortly after that, my eyesight went dark and I collapsed. When I opened my eyes, my hands and feet were tied and I was in a closed room. I screamed as loud as I could, and after a while, Kevin came running. When I swore at him and asked what he was doing, he said, "My children are so angry because of what you said earlier that they are raising their tails. Look." Then he started bringing terrariums full of scorpions in front of me. Soon, dozens of various scorpions were placed in front of me, and he said, "You're my friend, so I'll only sting you 3 times. Choose 3 of these scorpions. Among these children, some are very poisonous and some are only a little. Try and guess whose poison is weaker." I was livid and shouted that I would kill all of his scorpions, but he picked up one scorpion and said, "Before that, think about which scorpions are not poisonous." The scorpion's tail attempted to sting me right before my eyes, and my whole body was drenched in sweat from the extreme fear. I tried to cajole him, but he wouldn't listen to me and told me that if I didn't pick a scorpion in 1 minute, he would pick it himself. I ended up choosing one. Then he held the scorpion against my bound hand, and the scorpion stung my hand with its tail. And then a tremendous pain came over me. I shouted out in agony. He said with a smile, "It was a good choice. This child is poisonous, but not dangerously so. How is it? It's still the first round, so you can survive, right?" I howled. He checked my pulse and asked me to choose the second scorpion. I hesitated, but he threatened me again by holding a scorpion in front of me, and so I ended up choosing one. When this scorpion stung my hand, I felt even more pain than before, and I was struggling to catch my breath. I screamed for help. Kevin said while examining my pupils, "You're still okay, but that kid you just picked is a very poisonous one. It's so exciting to see people being poisoned right in front of my eyes. Please hold on and don't die. There's still one round left." I cried and screamed that I couldn't breathe, and he just laughed crazily. I begged him to save me, and he said, "Such a pity, but I can't help it. There's still one more scorpion player left, so choose the last one carefully." I ended up picking one, and again the scorpion stung me, and although it hurt, there were no serious symptoms. "You just picked a kid who wasn't very poisonous. You're lucky." Kevin clapped his hands and left the room, and I fainted. When I woke up, what must have been hours later, Kevin was sitting in front of me. As he handed me a wad of cash, he said, "Now, here's $1,000. This is my thanks for a really fun show today. Don't even think about reporting it to the police. I would just tell them that you got stung while handling a scorpion by yourself." I nodded at him to pretend to cooperate. Then he said happily, "Good. I think my kid's anger has calmed down a bit now." He then released me and I went straight to the hospital. I managed to recover after receiving treatment. After a few days, I couldn't hold back my anger and decided to get revenge on him. So I contacted him and asked him to do the scorpion show one more time. He obliged and asked me to come to his house. I went to his house, knocked, and as soon as he opened the door, I punched him in the face with all my might. He fell backwards and crawled towards the scorpion terrariums. I chased him and beat him like crazy. He was so stuck in a stupor that he couldn't get up from the floor. I took a knife from his kitchen and stabbed all the scorpions to death. Kevin cried, and I returned home. After that, he didn't come to school again, and no one saw or heard from him. I don't know what he's doing now. I just hope I never run into him again.